This is my review of the truck lineup, basically in its entirety, ignoring the precision freeride trucks, those billet Rogues. Look, we got the cast Rogues, we got the gold 2020 slaloms, and we got the ZM1s. Now, those of you looking for a proper ZM1 review are going to have to wait a bit. I've got more skating, more tuning, more bushing testing to do on these to fully understand them. So I apologize that this is being, I guess, rushed a little bit, but I want to get these trucks back to friends. I owe some thank yous to Nathan Rink for sending me the cast Rogues. This is his own personal trucks, and Tim Cernanec for sending me the gold 2020 slaloms. Both of them sent me their trucks for several months, so I appreciate you both so very much. And you know, it's a lot of faith to put into somebody that high sides on squats as often as I do. So they're coming back to you in good condition. So thank you for lending me these trucks. One thing I have to get out of the way real quick is that the pivot in the cast Rogues is the Riptide pivot. Now, Nathan sent these trucks to me with the Riptide pivot installed. I did not have the normal pivot in there. Apparently, first batch of Rogues had some issues with the pivot slop. The pivot on the hanger did not fit super well in the pivot cup that came from the factory, and so it gave you kind of a bad feeling, a little bit of slop in there, not where you want slop. And so, fortunately, I have not had to deal with that issue with these trucks, but do be aware that that was an issue that seemed to have plagued the first batch of these cast trucks to come out. And since then, maybe they've resolved it, but this review is going to be from the perspective of, you know, a well-tuned pivot, so understand that. This is going to be a little bit of a different style video. I'll go through the trucks one by one and talk about the things I liked and noticed on them, maybe a little bit of comparison at the end of which ones are right for you, but this is not going to be a full in-depth review like you would get with my other videos where I'm focusing on one single product for the entire time. So understand style's a little bit different, but it's just based on the constraints of time and things like that. And also, this is going to be a fun video. I don't think I've done this before. So here we go. Starting out, cast Rogues. These haven't been made in a minute. The cast Rogues, and I'm not talking about like the recent drop of these trucks. Cast Rogues came out in like the mid 2010s. And really popularized the use of insert bushings. Now, for those of you that are either new to the channel or new to our sport and aren't familiar with what an insert bushing is, they are designed to tackle this issue of slop. Now, slop is any movement of the hanger that is not in the pivot axis. So looking at it from above, the truck is not pivoting, it's not turning, but it's still moving, and we consider any of that kind of erroneous movement to be slop. Ideally, you want the hanger pivoting in its pivot axis alone, and that clean articulation is going to translate into just improved feedback from the trucks, improved response. Now, an insert bushing goes in between the kingpin and the hanger, and is a method for reducing this slop. And it's a method that Rogue popularized and was picked up by other brands later. If Rogue wasn't the original one to do this, I do apologize. My knowledge of skate gear history isn't that detailed. But you can see that insert bushing goes in there. It still allows you to put two bushings of your choice in there. It doesn't impede that. And it just restricts the hanger into that more like, I don't know, normal range of motion that you want out of a hanger. And my insert bushings that I chose are the 93A and the 95A Venom HPF bushings. I think Venom's doing insert bushings better than anybody else on the market right now. And I've always had the philosophy that I want to use the hardest insert bushings that are comfortable in my trucks, and then any extra resistance I'm getting from the insert bushings, I can compensate for with softer bushings. So here we've got double 73A pink bushings in this truck. Generally, I'm doing a 93A front truck with a 95A rear truck, and I'll tune that accordingly based on how I'm feeling. but this has been a pretty reliable combo for me. The disparity between kind of fast downhill race trucks, this more narrow modern thing with a big angle split, means that trucks like this are more and more often delegated to people that are just interested in a more kind of casual style of skating or stand-up free riding, stand-up slides, things like that. So I treated these as free ride trucks and was not disappointed by them. The double 48-degree base plate admittedly is a little bit high for modern free ride setups. With modern wheelbases seemingly dropping lower and lower and lower, the 48-degree base plate that maybe made more sense on like a 28-inch wheelbase back in the day, on a 22 or 23-inch wheelbase feels really reactive. It's a lot of turn you're going to get out of these trucks. So it feels a little bit out of place. It feels like a little bit of a relic of the past, but I do understand that the cost of making molds for the casting process for trucks is really expensive. It's a huge upfront cost. And so getting a bunch of different molds made is really expensive, and you have to be certain that you're going to hit the economies of scale to be able to pay for those molds while offering the affordable product that you intended to produce in the first place. And so that's why we're not seeing low degree cast trucks. These trucks are coming out in either existing molds or at least a mold that they think they can sell in high enough numbers that they still hit whatever profit margin they need for their company to stay afloat. So it's a little bit of a shame the 48-degree base plates in their symmetrical form was just a little bit too reactive, too responsive for what I was looking for. But fortunate for me, I've got a ton of Pat's risers, and what I did is wedge the rear truck down to like 38 degrees, 35 degrees for the majority of my free riding on these trucks. And with the split, I was a lot more comfortable. I'm growing more and more attuned to a split truck kind of vibe. And once I achieved that split, my free riding got a lot better, a lot more comfortable. I think I'm getting a rash on my lip. I shouldn't have given the cat a little kiss on his head. I'm allergic to him. Real quick, little break. Just like and subscribe. It helps out a lot. I've explained it in other videos. It makes a difference in the numbers. Thank you so much. Back to the video. Now, the unique kind of feeling and characteristic from this trucks, I feel like comes from the tall barrel bushings that are in there. The tall bushings just offer you so much room to kind of lean the truck over and kind of give this hanger a big cushion to float on while you're skating. It has a nice floaty, comfortable feeling that, to me, coming off of like standard bushing trucks, like other cast trucks, was a little unfamiliar. It took me some time to get used to it, but once I did, I found that I really liked it. In the past, I thought I've liked a sharper truck. I thought I've enjoyed kind of a more precise, snappier feel from my freeride trucks. But I might be starting to kind of deviate from that a bit. I'm starting to realize that a little bit of, I guess, slop, if you could say that, in the trucks definitely makes stand-up freeriding a little more comfortable and a little bit more forgiving. I feel like it's a little bit easier to kind of float in that stand-up slide, and the trucks kind of absorb imperfections in the road and imperfections in your inputs, just kind of making that a little bit more friendly and fun. Also, when I'm saying standard height and tall barrel bushings, I'm sure a lot of you understand that. The actual size difference is that a standard height bushing has a height of 0.6 of an inch, 0.6 inches, and a tall bushing has 0.75 inches of height. A tall bushing gives you just a little bit more material to squish and play around with, and I felt like that was really well suited for these trucks. And in an attempt to counter that, to see if I could improve these trucks even more, I put standard height bushings in here with a little bit of a shim to accommodate for that 0.15 inch difference in height between the trucks so that all my geometry would still align well. And I didn't like it as much. I thought I would like it, and it did actually feel more akin to other cast trucks that I'm used to skating. A little bit sharper response, a little bit quicker turn, a little bit of a snappier kick out and hook up from slides. Okay, I don't think I like that. That was the shorts in the rear. But the more I skated them and tried them, the more I realized that actually didn't suit the free ride style that I wanted it out of that board. I like the floatier feeling of a tall bushing truck. And so I reverted it back, threw the talls in there, and had a little bit better time. Now, I hate to say this, but my favorite configuration of these trucks was using the 20-degree precision base plate from the Slalom Rogues. The 48 front truck with the 20 rear truck on a 22-inch wheelbase was just so familiar. I'm very used to riding that kind of angle split in my downhill trucks, like the trucks that I'm doing fast glove down skating with grippy wheels, trying to minimize my time down the mountain. And so I'm familiar with riding those trucks on the limit, and what I didn't expect was how well that would translate to a freeride setup. I can't believe how good that was. This is gonna irreversibly change the way I set up freeride boards. This is cheating, how easy this is. So on the Coltrata board with the like 22 approximately inch wheelbase, 48 front truck, 20-degree rear truck, it felt so good. And I know how much that sucks to say because it's like impractical to get a precision base plate for your cast trucks or to de-wedge these trucks 28 degrees. I don't know if anybody's ever wedged a truck that much, but if you have, throw a photo in my DMs on Instagram. I would love to see how that's achieved. Yeah, that felt so good, so comfortable, and I still felt like I was getting all the nice forgiveness and lean and float from the tall bushings, while also giving me a kind of like steering quality that I'm used to on my smaller boards for glove down skating. So I hate to say it, but the big angle split free ride is really kind of hitting home with me, and I know it's not always practical, but it is what it is. But I really like the Cast Rogues. I think they have a great place in the market if you like that kind of floatier stand-up slide feel. You just have to be ready to tune the bushings to be kind of at a hardness where it's taking some of the pressure off of your ankles to keep the board in perfect alignment when you're kicking out slides and carving around and things like that. Once you get the bushings not hard enough that they nuke the lean of the trucks, but hard enough that you find that good balance of carving and resistance and holding center when you're in a stand-up slide, then these really start to shine. So if you're buying these trucks, budget some money aside to get a bunch of different bushings to try in them. Now moving onward to the Gold 2020 Rogues. What can I say about this truck? These trucks are just so easy to skate. They are so stable, they corner decently well, they get good consistent braking force in slides. Like, they are the missionary position of skate trucks. They just do the thing so easily and so simply. If you're somebody looking to go fast, looking to nail some lines through corners, but not have to be on your A game to keep your truck centered and stable, then the 2020 Rogues are a great choice. And I think that there's a lot of potential you can unlock in them as you start to kind of upgrade the bushing setup and tweak the washer setup. First thing you'll notice out the box is that the Gold 2020 Rogues have 73, 78 bushings in the front truck and 95, 97 bushings in the rear truck. One of the first things I did was swap out the 95 bushing for the 93. I felt like that definitely improved kind of the agility of the truck. And then also I replaced the front cupped washer with first a flat washer, but then a small flat washer, so you can see the top of the bushing is not fully covered there, and that gave me really comfortable articulation. all the responsiveness that I wanted, a little bit easier to tuck lean, get through corners, things like that, not as much resistance. And that's maybe the first thing you want to do if you're trying to sharpen up these trucks a little bit, make them a little more lively, a little more performance oriented. In their stock form, they're just so easy to skate, but you are missing out on a little bit of the steering that you could unlock with a simple bushing and washer change. Once again, I used the 93-95 bushing combo in these trucks. I don't know if that's the factory one. I think from the factory, they might have double 93s in there. So definitely look into whatever trucks your trucks are coming with and maybe swap accordingly. I felt like the 95 in the front truck didn't feel super good. Just felt a little weird, like not clean articulation, a little clunky. So I usually went with the 93. But after trying standard height bushings on the cast Rogues and realizing, oh, these kind of sharpen up the trucks and make them a little grippier, a little bit more responsive, but not in ways that feel good for my free ride, I had the aha moment of, well, why don't I put that in the Gold 2020 Rogues? That's what you're seeing now, are standard height 0.6 inch 73A Venom HPF bushings. And then I have some shims in there to compensate for the difference in height of the bushings, keep the trucks aligned. And wow, I had no idea that these would make this big of a difference. Now, Rogue has definitely kind of noticed this too and put this in their ZM1s. These come stock with standard height bushings. So I was a little suspicious if they would work in here, especially paired with the insert bushing. I didn't know if it would be restricting the truck too much, kind of removing the lean too much from the truck. But actually, it really sharpened these trucks up in a way that I really enjoyed. I felt like I had better performance on the limit of traction. I had better braking force. The straight line stability was slightly improved. Like, all these little things were shocking. I didn't know that it would make that much of a difference. But if you own the 2020 Gold Rogue slaloms and you're looking for a little bit racier feel, you're looking for a little bit more performance on the limit, throw in some standard height bushings. Now, I only did this modification very recently. Most of the riding I did on these trucks were with tall bushings, that 93, 97, and then 73, 78. And I enjoyed a lot of stability with that setup, with a decent amount of agility. One thing that surprised me was how well I was able to free ride these trucks. I really didn't think that they would work out well for stand-up free ride, but seems like the kind of tall bushing philosophy of a little bit of float, a little bit of forgiveness seemed to translate well for stand-up free ride. I still feel like they're not as easy to stand up free ride as the Zealous trucks. And so if you're looking for a little bit more versatile, do it all, slightly lower speed truck, the Zealous are still my choice. But you can do free ride on the 2020 Gold Rogues. Just keep in mind that this kingpin position is really going to restrict what size wheels you can throw on there. This is always the biggest gripe from Rogue owners, is that once their wheels are 65 millimeters, they basically feel like they can't skate them anymore. So with that in mind, free riding was pretty fun on these trucks. Locked into some good slides, good squats, good things all around. But the kind of narrow width of them paired with the tall bushings did feel like they had a little bit more tendency than other trucks to kind of tip and dive and bite in high side, which is why I kind of recommend the Zealous trucks, because the Zealous trucks are a lot more restrictive. They've got the really big bushing seat, like the deep walls to the bushing seat that kind of lock down that lean of the truck, just make it all around a little bit more forgiving. And I feel like they're a little bit more just fun to skate. But if you're looking for that kind of speed demon truck, just going fast as possible in a straight line, these do it really well. Don't be afraid to wedge up the front truck a little bit, getting into that 53 or 55 degree base plate angle. I have a couple boards that naturally wedge my trucks up, notably the Shangang Black Sail V2 adds about 3 degrees to my front truck, and the Tortuga, the Pantheon Tortuga, the Andy Atch Pro model, adds 2 degrees to the front truck. I always enjoyed that little bit of extra responsiveness out of the front truck. If you are looking for that, it's a great way to go, a great way to do it. I'm taking the truck apart right now because I want to demonstrate a prevailing issue with the 2020 Gold Rogues. This is an issue that has plagued so many models of this truck that I've seen that I'm surprised Rogue is seemingly completely ignoring the need to address it. So this is an issue I've seen on both sets of gold slaloms that I've borrowed and a number of other sets that I've just seen and interacted with. This front kingpin, for some reason, gets sloppy. I doubt I'm going to be able to show it on camera. Can you see that? That results in just ever so slight deviation from what you might expect the truck to do. I've noticed it generate chatter in the trucks, especially with big grippy wheels in my front truck. Back truck might be solid and locked down, but the front truck might be chattering. Could also be a result of the insert bushing choices and just overall bushing choices, but I'm sure that slop is contributing a decent amount. It's just a shame to see, you know, a company that's been making trucks as long as Rogue didn't figure out a reliable way to press in the kingpins so that they don't have this kind of deformation over time that makes that front kingpin sloppy. Now, it's not necessarily a make it or break it issue if you already own these trucks. I don't know if you should be completely just throwing them out and finding something else, but it is annoying and does result in some unfavorable ride qualities. So I'm hoping Rogue figures this out in the future, offers a fix. Off the top of my head, I don't super know a fix. I've not dealt with this kind of stuff before in the past. And I mean, the one time I have with Don't Trips, they just sent me a replacement, but I think Rogue has been really dragging their feet on sending replacements to people. I don't think they can afford to do that. So it is a shame. Now, addressing another manufacturing issue with the Gold 2020 Rogues, it seems like the rear truck may not be machined precisely for a tall barrel bushing. It actually might be over machined, meaning it probably accommodates a slightly taller bushing, one that doesn't exist. And that means that when that sandwich comes together of bushings and inserts and things like that, it's going to be loading up this side of the bushing a little bit more than this side of the bushing. I was skeptical of this issue at first. It was raised to my attention by Tim Cernanec and then addressed by Pat's Risers with this, a little 95A urethane washer that you put board side on the trucks. You can see I've got one in there on the bottom. And it gives the trucks like a little bit of a boost and gives you better contact with the bushing on the hanger. I was suspicious. I didn't know how much of a difference it would make. I had a hard time seeing the discrepancy myself, like with my own eyes. And so I primarily skated the trucks without that. But then more recently, I threw it in and did some high-speed skating down near Nashville, Tennessee, and really was kind of shocked at how much more stable my setup was. I'm sure it improved responsiveness too, but that wasn't highlighted at this particular session. It was mostly just high speed with friends in a pack, which was a real good time. But like, for example, when I first started skating these trucks, I was using them at the Dirt Farm Freeride, which in the bottom straight, I was getting mid 50 mile per hour range pretty consistently, like 54 or 55. And I'm sure luge and better skaters than I were touching 60 or something like that. I was having some stability issues on these trucks. Now the pavement isn't perfect there, but pretty consistently at that speed, I was noticing stability issues. But at this more recent sesh in Nashville, once I installed this little urethane washer, all that stability issues went away. Like skating at 50 plus miles an hour really was easy. kind of a no-brainer. And so I wonder if this contributed, or there were differences in my setup or things like that that contributed, but it usually takes a lot of evidence for me to buy into something being true. So that's, this gets a tentative approval from me that it seems like it made a difference. And I know I'm sponsored by Pat's Risers. This isn't me trying to sell you another one of his products. You could probably do the same thing with a washer. I think a normal washer is pretty similar in overall thickness. But this gives you maybe a little bit more of squish and compression and things like that if you want that. So consider that modification. If you already own these trucks, just double check your rear base plate to see if it's all aligning well. And one way you can check if you're getting this alignment right is look at the wear pattern on your bushings. If you have a dark ring that's symmetrical, basically symmetrical all the way around the bushings, that's a good indicator that your truck is well aligned. But if the dark ring is more of a crescent shape and it's only on one half of the bushing, that could alert to you, that could signal that the truck, once it's compressed down, once it's, sandwiched in there with inserts and bushings and stuff like that, isn't perfectly aligned. So just be on the lookout for that. Last, but certainly not least, the Rogue ZM1s. Like I said, I bought these trucks for myself, so I'll be skating them a lot more in the future and working on a full, detailed, in-depth review. But here's what I can say about them right now. Out of the box, they're really good. They're easy to skate. Not easy to skate in the same way that the Gold 2020 Rogues are. These make different aspects of skating easier and other aspects of skating harder. Being, bearing trucks, there's a spherical bearing in the pivot, there's a spherical bearing where there would otherwise be an insert bushing. It means that they're so much more responsive, so much more precise. And that's going to result in a lot more reactivity from your inputs. Also with a 55-degree front truck, that's just doubling down and compounding on this reactivity. Also, tripling down, they have like 12 millimeters of rake, and that's crazy. That's so much rake. Now, I've had the opportunity to try a number of other trucks that use spherical bearings, notably Don't Trip Slalom and the Don't Trip Dane Hanna Pro model. I've also put bearings in my Don't Trip Downhill Sibens. So a number of other bearing trucks, and I think Rogue, possibly more than anybody, has gotten the build quality the best. I feel like everything slots together perfectly with these trucks. There's almost no like metal on metal slop, like a little bit of tolerance just so things all slide together. It feels like they've managed to put this design together with absolutely minimal slop. And so some of the characteristics that you get out of other bearing trucks, which is like weird chatter in slides, is usually a pretty foremost characteristic, seems to be way lessened with these trucks. I mean, compared to the Don't Trip Dane Hannas, I did skate these back to back with those as I borrowed the Dane Hannas from my friend John LaPlante. It really felt like these trucks just had an extra level of refinement, slightly smoother in the lean, slight more precision. Like they just feel like they've come together in such a good way that I really applaud Zach Madem and the Rogue team for designing a truck that does that assembles together easily, but also eliminates all this, weak points that typically have plagued spherical bearing trucks in the past. These are so responsive, but they're also so easy to tuck lean because they steer so much with very little input. Remaining in a tuck position and just kind of leaning off your board is just so easy. It's just like you kind of think where you want to go and they go. I really don't have any complaints about these so far. I know I need to mess with the front bushing design, or the combination of bushings in the front truck. A lot of people opt for a blue cone, which I have handy, or a small washer, like I did on the 2020 Gold Rogues. These are all of my plans for the larger, more detailed review in the future. So I clearly have some more testing to do on these, but these trucks are designed for the person that wants to take it to the next level, that wants to skate better lines, that wants to remain in aerodynamic positions through more situations and corners, that want to maximize their braking force, that want to maximize the grip from their wheels. They are, in that aspect, like easy to skate, but I think beginners or people coming off of more traditional truck designs are gonna have an adverse reaction to these because of just how much response you get for your inputs. Definitely have to be a little bit more precise with the way you're interacting with these trucks in order to be able to skate them at the limit. But because they're so good and precise and responsive, they also somehow make skating at the limit easier if you have the technique to back it up. So I think what my conclusion is from all of this is if you don't know what you want from skating, these are a pretty easy option. I would recommend these to beginners, which maybe sounds crazy to recommend such narrow trucks to beginners, but I think we are in a day and age and have achieved such good technology in skateboarding that beginners can and should have access to the benefits of well-engineered modern trucks. But that's with the idea that they're mostly just doing glove down skating. They're mostly just looking for stability and good cornering. If you're trying to learn freeride, I think the cast Rogues are phenomenal trucks. And my freeride choice of this bunch, if I can just tune the angles the way that I want them to be, if you're learning how to do stand-ups and you're learning how to do slides, these are going to give you some great rotation, some great slide initiation that maybe you're not going to have as much out of these trucks, but these are going to be so easy to skate. Just so plain Jane vanilla missionary that like they're an easy choice to recommend. And I feel like you got to have some time on your board before you're going to pick up the ZM1s if you're going to enjoy the benefits that they give you. I feel like if you're not ready to skate at the limit of other trucks, then skating at the limit of these is going to be really daunting. So you got to get that technique up, you got to learn how to maximize the grip from your wheels, both when you're sliding and when you're cornering. And then maybe you can enjoy the fruits that the ZM1s are here to bear. But that has been my big Rogue overview. I didn't script any of this, so I don't have bullet points, so I'm sure I'm missing details. And any questions you have about these trucks, anything I missed, please drop them in the comments below. I will be reading and responding to them as best as I can. But this has been so fun. I rarely ever get to skate so many different products from the same manufacturer that all do different things so well, and it's clear that Rogue in one way or another has achieved mastery of their disciplines. These are three very different flavors of modern skate truck that all offer something really fun and unique, albeit each single one of them has little bits and qualms I have that, what trucks aren't gonna have some qualms and bits about them. But thank you so much for watching. Check out the Patreon if you're looking for more first reaction type stuff to products. More progress videos as I'm working on reviews. I've been talking about every single one of these trucks on Patreon for months and months, and in some cases years. Updates on my testing, things like that. So patrons watching this video aren't going to be surprised by anything I say here. They probably will have all heard it all before, but this is just the platform where I get all my thoughts into one cohesive mess and post it. So check out the Patreon. Some rewards over there are pretty fun, but I gotta say, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a great day.